Well, I'm going to just jump right on in. And I titled the message today, Keeping the Advantage. The advantage to what? Well, you're going to find out. Now, who here knows that in war times, there's secret messages that go out sometimes? And why do people need to have the messages coded sometimes? Because if the enemy somehow gets a hold of that message, we still don't want them to be able to read it. We still want to have the advantage. We don't want to give that advantage to them of knowledge of our plan. Now, we have an amazing, awesome God that we serve, someone who's on our side. He's all-powerful, all-knowing. The devil's got nothing on him. But there are still some times when we give the enemy an advantage. We give them some ammunition sometimes. Could you imagine giving the enemy ammunition? That's not a very good tactic. Yeah. And so, that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. Some ways that we give the enemy an advantage and how we can refrain from doing that. And in turn, that will help us overcome the enemy more consistently time and time again. And there are three main areas where I consistently see people, myself included, no judgment here on you guys, giving the enemy an advantage. Now, the first way that I see us giving the enemy an advantage is by giving him intel and ammo. Now, these two might seem like they should be separated, but in this case, the intel actually is the ammunition. So I'm going to look at some scripture to kind of tell you what I'm talking about. Psalms 139, 1 through 4 says this: "You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely." So there's some interesting things in this passage I want you guys to notice, where it says God perceives thoughts from afar, and also where it says, before a word is on my tongue, the Lord knows it. So what's that telling us about God in this passage? Yeah, ESP, yeah. He's psychic. No. No, yeah, it's telling us that he knows our thoughts. He knows our heart. And so that's why we're able to pray for him sometimes simply by not even talking, but simply through our thoughts to him, through our heart to him. And what's interesting is Scripture does not support the idea that the devil can do that. It never says the devil knows your thoughts. And so that's something we can use to our advantage. And so, who's heard the saying, loose lips sink ships? Yeah. Don't sink the ship. There are some things that should stay thought, because as soon as we bring that out into the open, that gives the enemy some intel. Now, this doesn't mean we should keep everything secret, because there are some struggles that we need to talk with people about, confess things, but we need to be careful with that also. Because let's say you're struggling with self-worth. That's something I've struggled with before. And you'll be working on something and you make a little mistake, and then you get that little passive-aggressive, I'm so stupid. Like, you might think that's just a little joke, but that's intel for the enemy right there. Like, oh, he thinks he's stupid a little bit. Let me kind of poke at that a little bit. Then more and more you'll get more and more self-deprecating and get to the point where you just feel really bad about yourself. Don't do that. Mm-hmm. So, what if you do need to talk to someone? How do you do it in a way that it doesn't give the enemy the advantage? Well, first thing, bring that to God first. don't bring those thoughts to yourself. Like, oh, I'm an idiot. Ask God, no, who do you say I am? Bring it to him first. Another thing we can do is if the church is functioning properly, one of the jobs of the church is to edify the body. So go to your church family. Have them be something that can lift you up, lift your spirits. Bring it to them rather than giving it to the enemy. And lastly, here's an important thing. Actually be trying to make positive steps to overcome that thing when you bring it to light. Bring it to light with the purpose of getting better, not just to complain and be negative about it. Because in complaining and negativity, that's where the enemy thrives. And we see that a lot. When there's something negative going on, people just love to pounce on that. Now again, I'm not saying bottle everything up inside. That is not healthy. Stuff can fester that way also. But rather, have a battle plan in place beforehand. That way, when the intel gets to the enemy, you already got your army in place. And that intel won't be ammo anymore. It'll just be bad news for them. So, don't give that intel to the enemy. Give it to God. Now, second, here's another way that people often give the advantage to the devil. Who here has seen the movie Mouse Hunt? Good classic comedy right there. Man, I use movies a lot in my teachings, but it's okay. I like movies. No, but there's this scene when they go into the attic because they heard some noise up there. So it's dark, and they're looking around, already a little nervous. Then all of a sudden, there's this burst of lightning and thunder, and they see this big shadow on the wall behind them of this creepy-looking monster, and they're yelling, they're crying out, ah! But then one of the brothers realizes, wait, it's just a Jack-in-the-Box toy in the window. Now, was that Jack-in-the-Box toy really a monster that they needed to be afraid of? No, but in that moment, did they give that Jack-in-the-Box the power to be a monster to him? Yeah, they did. They gave it more power than it really had. And that's something that we do sometimes. We give the devil too much credit sometimes. When we do that, we make him seem more powerful than he really is. It'd be like if I dropped some food on the floor and picked it up and ate it, which never done. 5-second rule, you know. But we know full well that there's germs on that food. We know it. We just don't care sometimes. No. But then let's say you do that, then you get sick. Then let's say I start going, oh, devil, why would you do this to me? Satan. Was it really the devil doing that to me right there? No, it wasn't the devil doing that to me right there. But if I made it seem like it was the devil, when I think of the devil, I'm going to think of him as this powerful thing that's going to get me sick whenever I do something. No, that gives him power. And that also kind of boosts his ego. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to give him the advantage of thinking he's doing good and being bad to us. So don't give him credit. And I'm not saying that he doesn't attack in those ways, but I do believe there are a lot of times when we give him credit where it's not due. Like, oh, I'm so tired, the devil's after me. Actually, you stayed up till 3 a.m. and skipped breakfast. Yeah. Gaming, yes. Like, oh, I got grounded, the devil's after me. No, you need to obey your parents. Yeah, no, a lot of the times it's not the devil. It's just our weaknesses and consequences from our actions. Don't give him credit for that. It makes him seem tougher than he is. And you don't want to make the enemy seem tougher than it is, because then you don't have that confidence, and we need to have that confidence against him. And sometimes we also make this mistake. We can end up giving credit to something that God's trying to do. Ooh. In Matthew 4:1, it says, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil." Ooh. But let's look at this. It says, the Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness. So often when we get to the wilderness, we think the wilderness is the devil. Sometimes we think that, but it's not. When Jonah was on the ship and the storm came and he was swallowed by that fish, he wasn't like, "Oh, the devil's got me." That was a God moment. The storm and the fish was a God moment. And those moments can be hard to see sometimes because the goodness from it might not be seen till later on. But let's not be so quick to give the devil credit and boost his confidence. So instead of thinking, "Oh, what's the devil doing?" let's think, "What's God doing through this?" Don't even bring him into the equation. So we know not to give the devil intel and ammo to use against us. We know not to give him credit for things, but rather keep our focus on what God's doing. Now the third thing that we do to give the devil an edge, which might seem kind of weird, is we give him permission. Now what do I mean by that? Let's look at some scripture real quick. Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength." Ooh, that's a lot of people's favorite verse. It's just a really confidence-boosting verse. And let's look at 1 Corinthians 10:13. It says, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so you can endure it." Man, those are some confidence-building verses. And there's so many more verses in the Bible that should give us confidence that, Jesus is the firstborn over all creation. All things were created through him. Like the last time I preached, that was a good confidence-building scripture. And there's so many more that God's defeated the devil. He's going to be cast down. We should have so much confidence in God and what he does for us. But we need to be careful, because I've seen that confidence turn into arrogance, which doesn't necessarily sound like a bad thing, but let me tell you some of the things I've seen and heard from confidence. When I was in Bible college, I had a friend, and we were all getting pumped up learning about Scripture and how great and awesome God is. We were getting so confident in him. And one day I'm scrolling through Facebook, just looking at everything my friends are posting, and my friend from school posted this. He's like, "God is so good, and he's so awesome and so powerful. I'm feeling really good. Come at me, devil." Ooh. Oh, that's not a smart thing to do. There's a Christian rock band I listen to called For Today, and they have an awesome song called Fearless. Oh, that's a good song. It talks about how great and strong God is, how we don't need to be afraid. He's just conquered everything. But there's the last line in the song, and it gets me every time. It's like, we don't need to be afraid, then so let the devil come. It just makes me cringe a bit. And I've heard it in teachings before too. There are pastors preaching a sermon, "Oh, God's so good, so come at us, devil. We got this." No, that is giving him permission. Confidence is good to have, and we should have confidence. And if the devil were to come and we turn to God, he can overcome it easily. But inviting the devil to come and try is not smart tactics to do. Could you imagine if you were in an army and you said, "Oh, come on, army, bring it on"? No, that's not a smart tactic. You do not want to do that. Because even though I pursue God, I still have struggles. I'm pretty sure all of you can relate. And even though we have confidence in God, we should not give the devil permission. because we can get seriously hurt from that. We can still make mistakes. And here's another movie reference, The Lion King. Oh yeah, classic. Simba was so confident in being a lion that he was going to be king. He thought he could do anything. And so what he decided to do? I'm going to go over to where the hyenas live. I'm going to be so cool. Look at me. I'm a lion. I can handle those hyenas. But we know what happened. He's got chased out of there. And the only reason he survived was that Mufasa came in. And he's like, I just wanted to be brave like you. But Mufasa's like, I'm only brave when I have to be. He didn't invite the hyenas to come in and test his bravery. But when they did go there, when they did come, that's when he stood his ground against them. So don't be inviting the devil, because if you invite bad things, there are going to be more times where you have to deal with bad things. And eventually you might make a mistake, and that's not good. We don't want that. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. It says flee from those desires. It doesn't say bring them close by and see how close you can get without falling into them. No, we shouldn't be testing ourselves and put temptations and opportunities to sin in front of us and see how good am I at resisting this. No, we should flee from those things. Not because we don't think God isn't powerful, but why risk it? Why put yourself in a position to fail? We can keep focused on how amazing God is and not bring the devil into the mix. And if you're going on a diet and you go to the donut shop, get a baker's dozen, bring it home, keep it on the counter, just to show how good you are at resisting donuts. Look how good I am. No, why bring those to a place where you could fail in your diet? Don't do that. Don't do that. Like I said, in war, you wouldn't ask for the enemy to come to you. If you were boxing, you don't, okay, here, take a free punch, go ahead. No, don't do that. Don't give the enemy any opportunity, any advantage, because we still have spiritual warfare going on. Don't give the enemy the advantage. The devil's going to come out on the battlefield eventually, but don't be the one that brings him there. Now, I don't want you leaving here today thinking you need to worry about the devil, that he's powerful. On the contrary, I want you to leave here almost not thinking about him at all. I want you leaving here having full confidence in God and his ability to care for you, to provide for you, protect you, and have such confidence in that we don't even worry about the devil. And the lack of worry doesn't mean lack of preparation or make you think it's not dangerous for him to be close. However, God is so strong that why even bring that into the conversation? Like I mentioned earlier, don't be thinking, what's the devil doing? Think, what's God doing? Focus on that and how powerful he is. Don't give the devil the intel and ammo to use against you. Be thoughtful with what you bring forth. Don't give him credit and boost his ego. Give God the credit. And definitely don't invite him to come after you. Instead, give things to God. Look and see what he's doing and accomplishing through this, and stay close to him.